A Girl Called Owl by Amy Wilson, and we're on chapter 6 now. I think I'm going to do chapter 6 and 7 together because they're quite short. So, basically, what you're saying is that you have some sort of magical frost power. It's not magic, I yelp, folding my arms. It doesn't actually do anything, and I probably imagined it anyway. I shouldn't have said anything. Talking about it with her makes it feel more real. But you don't really think that, do you? You wouldn't be worrying about it so much if you did. Why don't you give it a try? See if you can show me. She's trying to be kind, but I can tell she's having trouble with the idea. Mallory has quite expressive eyebrows, and they're doing a lot of expressing right now. We've just got to the lane by her house, and there's nobody else around, so it might be worth a try. But I don't actually know how it happens. It's like a sneeze or a personal sort of storm. It just creeps up on me. I try to explain that to Mallory, but she's determined. So the first time was when I teased you about Alberic, and the second time was when your mum took your quilt away. I don't know. Is it something about surprise or body heat? Like, you know, if I snatched your hat off right now, she whips it away and throws it over her shoulder, standing back and watching, her eyes bright. No, she asks after a minute. Nothing has happened. No. She picks up the hat and hands it back. Well, whatever is going on, it obviously doesn't feel like playing right now. You don't think I'm making it up? I breathe out slowly. My chest aches from holding it in. I've been really worried about it ever since I promised I'd tell her. I didn't know how I would say it all, or how she'd react. And then there was this awful fear that maybe it would manifest and freak her out, or do something terrible like turn her into an icicle. No, she said finally. I just think there must be some logical explanation that we haven't worked out yet. Does it hurt when it happens? Not really. It just feels weird. And you're not going around hurting anyone else, so there's no big emergency. Look, we'll work it out. She looks at me a little dubiously, and then her eyes brighten. Maybe it's got something to do with your dad. Like what? He's a snowman. I mean to laugh when I say it, but it just doesn't really come out that way, because I'm just not finding it that funny. Visions of creatures hiding in the shadows, ice on my skin. It all feels so real, and yet how can it be? How can it be, really? It's all right, Mallory says as we start walking again. It's probably just because it's got so cold and you're tired and you're worried about things. Maybe it's just some kind of static or weird skin condition that you've inherited, or stress making you shiver. But you should get a proper answer from your mum about your dad. Even if he's not a snowman. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? I'll try, I say, mostly just to satisfy her. Movement flashes in the corner of my eye, and I turn sharply towards the horse chestnuts that lean their long limbs over the wall from the graveyard. I half expect to see that awful grey creature nestled there staring at me, but it's just leaves drifting from the grey branches into the alley. I plaster a smile on my face as I turn back to Mallory, hoping she hasn't noticed. Speak later? She grimaces. It's a family evening. I probably won't get the chance. But I'll see you in the morning, if we both survive till then. I watch her go, feeling a bit nervous. I know it's mean. She really does hate those family evenings. But right now, the idea of being bought pizza and ice cream and sitting with both parents in your normal house with your normal skin on while they ask you about your day sounds pretty good to me. Chapter 7. Usually when I'm feeling down, I listen to some music, do a bit of drawing or talk to Mallory. But tonight, none of that's working. I avoided Mum when I got in, just called hello upstairs and I came into my room. The idea was to do some sketching and lose myself in that, but I'm too agitated. I can't settle. The owls I'm drawing are all lopsided and weird looking, and honestly, I'm a bit fed up with owls right now. Mallory's having her family evening, so she's unavailable. It's probably lucky, actually. All I do is moan, and then I feel bad about moaning. Owl! Mum's voice interrupts my thoughts. Come on, my love. I've made us a lovely dal. Dal is lentils. I cannot tell you how much I loathe lentils. Mum dresses them all up in sorts of guises. Lentil lasagna, lentil stew, lentils in muffins. They're a special kind of horror. And of course the dal. And it doesn't matter how many times I tell her that I don't like them. She just keeps on making things with them in her own special way. It's as if she thinks one day I'll turn around and I'll say, hey, you know what, Mum? I was wrong all along. Aren't these lentils luscious? I am never going to say that. I pushed my chair back from my desk and stormed to the kitchen. We have a small flat. My room, Mum's room, sitting room, kitchen, bathroom, the studio in the attic. Anyway, it doesn't take me long to get to the kitchen. She's dishing up the dal. It's dark out now, and she's lit tea lights all along the kitchen worktops and on the table. Why don't we have family evenings and order pizza and ice cream and talk about how my day was at school? Mum turns to me. She's wearing small gold hoop earrings and they glint as she moves. Family evenings? Yes, special ones where you make an effort to find out what's going on with me. But I already know what's going on with you, Owl. Every evening is a family evening. Family is all the parts, not just some of the parts. I'm too cross and it's just not coming out right. I take a deep breath, leaning against the wall as she puts the plates on the table. Oh, she's made naan bread and raita to go with the lentils, and my stomach rumbles treacherously. Family is this? She gestures around the room. Family is wherever there is home, food and love. Come, sit, eat and let's talk. But it's not. Here, she says, reaching into the fridge. I've got your favourite. Mexicana spicy cheese. She smiles hopefully and my eyes sting. I don't want cheese, but you love it. I don't want any of this. I want to know who my father is. I fold my arms, glare at her. Owl, I need to know. She puts her back up against the kitchen counter. I've told you the story. I used to read it to you, don't you remember? I told you how I met him. How beautiful. His name, Mum. Tell me his actual, real, proper name. All the colour seems to drain from her face as she stares at me and realises I am not about to give in this time. My breath catches in my throat and suddenly I feel sick. I wish I hadn't stormed in here. I should have let it go. I'm not going to like it. I can tell from the way she twists her hands. She's scared. Just do it, I whisper. How can it be that bad? Jack, she says, looking me in the eye. His name is Jack. Jack what? Jack Frost. Laughing, crying. She's rushing over to me and I fight her off. I can't breathe. Is my life such a joke to her? Is she mad? Does she really believe what she's saying? Her eyes are shining with the truth of it. But how? How can that be true? It was a day. It could have been a week or a month or longer. It could have been a lifetime. The days in that place did not work the same, and she was lost in the magic that surrounded her, so that if it had been forever, she would never have questioned it. The light was low and bright when it broke through the haze. The mountains towered above them, and there were living creatures there, goats tripping over the rocks and eagles high overhead. A frozen lake opened out to the west of the dome, and she was sure it had never been anything other than ice upon ice. The dome was his palace, wrought of ice that fractured and splintered light upon shining blue-white floors. There were staircases that led nowhere, and others that swept up to new chambers. Over all was the frozen ceiling, covered in a layer of snow, and where he lit candles, the light glanced off a million chiselled surfaces, making fractal shapes upon the floor. There was danger all around them in that place, and she knew when she looked into his silver eyes that he could be just as terrible as any of the wolves, and just as treacherous as the ice. "What are you?" he asked her. "How do you appear here thus?"